Mike Bearhorst, Innovation Specialist with BASF, bringing you another Innovation Spotlight from a Central Iowa cornfield on September 8th. Now, the innovation that we're going to talk about today is not one that's new to the industry, but one that's very important to the industry, and that's Headline Amp. Many of the people talked this year about not having a lot of disease pressure during time of application, and it changed the minds of a lot of people of what they did throughout the season. What we want to talk about today is how Headline Amp is going to give you value no matter what the scenario that gets thrown at it each and every year. We're also very proud within BASF of having a diverse group of people that have a lot of diverse backgrounds behind them, and so today we're going to introduce Nate Quam, another innovation specialist who is formerly on the research side of things for BASF. He brings a unique skill set to be able to show you some individual traits and characteristics that we're going to see of Headline Amp that sometimes we forget about when we're too focused on disease. So here in just a second, we'll be bringing Nate up here to you, and we'll be looking at actual plants from a field, treated versus untreated, that will show you the differences that you can expect from Headline Amp year in and year out.
So first we'd like to take a look at some plants we pulled out of the untreated portion of the field. Upon looking at these plants, you'll notice that there's not much greenness left in these leaves, so we've lost a lot of our critical leaf area that's necessary for photosynthesis. That's going to inhibit this plant's ability to reach maximum yield potential and to fill these ears to their fullest. And we see that. We look at these ears, we see that they're somewhat tipped back, and definitely not the big, well-filled ears we'd like to see. As we move further down the plant, we see that these older leaves have senesced much earlier than we want them to. That tells us this plant was not utilizing nitrogen as efficiently as it could have been, and also this plant has probably cannibalized some of the carbohydrates it's stored in the stalk to help fill the ear due to the lack of photosynthetic ability. What that does is it gives us poorer stalk quality and less stalk girth. If we look at these stalks as a cross section, we see these stalks are not very big around, not much bigger around than my thumb. So if we have a wind event, these plants are going to have a hard time standing up and a hard time being harvested. So now we're going to look at some plants we pulled out of the treated portion of the field. These plants were treated approximately 59 days ago at VT with 10 ounces of Headline Amp. That would be our standard recommendation. As we look at these plants, we notice some differences from our untreated plants. We see a lot more green leaf tissue, so that tells us these plants continue to contribute photosynthetic energy to fill in these ears. As we move down the plant, we see that these ears are definitely larger and filled more to the tip. Moving further down the plant, we see that we've maintained more lower leaves. This tells us a few different things. This tells us that these plants have been maximizing nitrogen use, and also these plants have not cannibalized carbohydrates from the stalk to help fill the ear because the canopy has remained healthy. That's very important to us when we look at standability. If you look at the girth of these stalks, you will see that they're much larger than the untreated plants. That is an important aspect of treating with a fungicide that I think many growers overlook. Having standability late into the season is another way to increase the value you gain from your fields.
Now, it's widely known that Headline Amp is the best product on the market when it comes to disease control. But we're hoping that through this last video and as Nate has talked through things, that you've learned a few more things about the benefits that Headline Amp brings to your operation. Nate talked about things like increased photosynthesis, the help with nitrogen use efficiency, increased stress tolerance, and increased standability. And as all those things, you put those together, that means more bushels that you're able to market at the end of the year. And obviously, that's what's important to us. Now, as we look at those things too, we also want to make mention that even though we didn't talk about disease today, it was still prevalent in what we were looking at in the fields. It just didn't come in as early as it did last year. As we look at these plants, disease is there, and that's affecting a lot of things that we're going to see this fall. And so that's why we want to say it's very important to think about all of these things and think about all of these things early. Make a plan early in the season to stick with your fungicide application, because we see year in and year out that it consistently proves out to be very valuable to you as a producer. It also helps to plan early because that's your most optimum time to get the best pricing and the best rebates that are available on Headline Amp and other products like Preaxor. As always, innovation specialists and business representatives from BASF are available to talk to you more in depth about any of the topics we've talked about today or anything that involves your corn and soybean crops. On behalf of BASF and the entire team that we have here, we thank you for watching this video, and we wish you a very prosperous growing season.